So, after recording my main nuclear family, it's now my turn to share my definition of family and how that changes over time. So, what my definition of family would be is kind of piggybacking off of what my family kind of has to say to it all, and that family is a choice. You choose who you want in your family, and it's your decision on how you let that impact you in that way. Family makes you feel safe, supported, loved, encouraged, and you feel that commitment. There shouldn't be a tremendous amount of effort given on both sides. It's something that just feels natural and comfortable. Um, Family does change over time. Um, in the complete honesty and the way that everything formulates is sometimes family can be an ultimate shit show, and family can be the ones that are the closest to you that can hurt you the most. Um, Family can be manipulative and change the way that you look at family. And I know from watching my own family grow and develop and go through all that, that's what really shaped both my parents and currently shaping our adult lives for my siblings and I. Family is hard to come by. Um, and how that overlaps with my family system's concept of family, hand in hand. Our family is a choice. My nuclear family is all blood, and through thick and thin, no matter what, my parents will always have my love and support, and same for my siblings, even if anything would ever come between that. That's just a different type of love that I carry for them. And then how we define family, again, just choice. We choose each other every day, and we choose the ones that we continue to love. For themes, I think trauma stands out for us. Trauma is a big one. My parents have been through hell and back to get to where they are today, and being the firstborn and the oldest child, I've really watched them grow as individuals through that trauma, and how they continue to grow to this day. And trauma really shapes how we create that trust and love and stability in our homes. And trauma as a theme goes hand in hand with resiliency. I think my family is very resilient and determined to be loyal to one another. And loyalty, um, there's nobody else that I would put first before them. It's sad to say that a lot of people in my life have changed, and the only people I can really depend upon are my sisters and my parents, which is why my life cycle portrait only includes the ones I trust, the ones I can depend on, and the ones that I know will protect me whenever the time comes. Um, just reflecting on where I've come throughout this entire program and process, and looking at our genograms and how that carries into it, and how family has really developed and grown from that. Um, Attachments is what really stands out to me too, is that a family has really good attachment, and with attachment, that's also how one develops their own self identity and goals and aspirations. Without my family's support, I currently wouldn't be where I am today. And I owe a lot of that to my mom and dad for not letting my siblings and I go without, and always providing the best for us, always making decisions before themselves and putting us first. And I know for my parents that was hard, and they had to make their own sacrifices, and at times had to sacrifice their own happiness. And it's nice to see at this stage in our family with 3 grown adult children out of the home, 2 in college, 1 out of the house, my parents can go back to themselves, their relationship, the marriage, that life cycle stage of being with one another. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So I personally want to talk about some of the life cycle concepts. Um, so location currently is the way I view it for family and life cycle stages, that um, physical location is hard for families. Distance creates strains. It creates kind of the decision if you want to keep that communication there, if you want to be involved in each other's lives. My mom is from Virginia, so that family we don't talk too often. It's hard to stay in touch. When we are in touch, it's like no time has really passed though, because that love is a different type of love. It's a love that you know that you don't have to try to earn. It's already given. It's already guaranteed. And my mom's side of the family is much more receptive to that kindness and love. Um, we reside in New York, and that's where my father's from. And his side of the family, that that is a different story altogether. And there's not an actual family connection there on his biological side on either stance. We're closer to my step grandfather's sister more than anything else. So you can already tell how that branch has kind of grown and where loyalties really lie. Loyalty is important to my family and I. So with physical location, I'd say family's hard to come by here. Um, with my parents, myself, and the youngest Megan being here in New York makes it really easy to communicate. Megan's only 45 minutes away in Geneva, so it's a quick jaunt up north to go grab her real quick and bring her back down. With Taylor, on the other hand, we both attended undergrad together, so she is still there in Pennsylvania. It's a 4-hour drive, so it's not bad, and she's able to come home on weekends when she absolutely needs to. So that's always refreshing and nice to see. So um, with that, I'm also just thinking about how with location that we don't know what's going to happen next. So if I stay here in New York, if I end up moving, my parents end up moving, if Taylor and Megan decide to move, so for now it's difficult, unanswered. Um, Body image, man. Um, my parents tried really hard not to force body image on us, but in ways they have, um, making comments here and there, nothing intentionally to be hurtful or to make us feel a certain way, but being aware of our body image at least. We're all quote unquote athletes. We all have athletic builds, wide shoulders, um, large large quads, large thighs. Everything is just proportioned in a way for us to be thicker. And with that, then we had to maintain healthy eating habits and exercising. We were always playing sports throughout my childhood and into honestly my adult life and undergrad. Um, I officially stopped playing back when I was 21 years old, and I'm about to turn 24 this upcoming Sunday. So I recently stopped being an athlete. So it's just a certain type of body image that is portrayed with that to meet those standards of an athlete, to be healthy, to be fast, to be faster, to always be the best. Um, Physical and mental health. Um, back when I was in eighth grade, I had a physical injury that I had to push aside. Didn't happen. You're fine. Walk it off. Couldn't walk it off. Tore all the cartilage in my right ankle. But physical health, unless it was serious, wasn't serious. I know for me personally that when I ever get physically sick, you're not really sick. You gotta get better. You gotta do more than that. You gotta shake it off and keep going. No sick days. Life doesn't give you sick days. Um, if you take a sick day, you're quitting. Um, when absolutely needed, my parents would obviously weren't complete assholes and understood the severity of it, but my siblings and I were each different in that way that if you were really, really sick, we each like handled it differently. Towards mental health, I never really struggled with it growing up. I know that my sister Taylor did, and I know that she took more mental health days growing up than Megan and I ever did. And my mom has always dealt with her own mental health. And as a family, that life cycle stage of like, hey, this is going to happen to you. And when it does, let us know. Just the anxiety and depression and the commonalities of what life can turn into with that anxiety. Um, Very supportive parents in that regard and very understanding if we just said we weren't okay. Um, we do make jokes though, not in a malicious way, but there are some jokes that can be said about mental health, and we know how to target each other to make each other kind of feel bad, and it comes off like in a sarcastic manner, but there are ways to change and go about that. Um, Towards death, we we have had loss in our family, and the way we handle that is kind of grieve and get over it, or try to act like everything's okay, and then you have a huge breakdown. Um, the only ones that have ever really lost anyone close are my mother and father. Thankfully, knock on anything. Um, my siblings and I are very lucky to not have experienced that loss or grief with a human family member, but we have lost pets. We have lost those family members, and it's like you're missing a piece in your house, and it's quiet and it's eerie feeling. And the way that we handle that is we reminisce. We remember the good times with our pets and how goofy they were and how they fit into our Filmer clan and the joy and happiness and love that they brought us with the time that they had on this earth. So that's always nice to be reflective on that and to still to this day share pictures of our past pets, and in the slideshow I don't include them, but we're always thinking of them and we always will still love them. They're always a part of us. They never leave you. They're the I feel like there are signs everywhere where it's like a pet is like a family member you get to choose. And we always choose our pets. um, for romance and sexuality as a life cycle concept. Again, my parents were very supportive of whatever we saw value in ourselves and kind of how that was taught. They really had to overcome their own stigmas if they had any, aka mostly my father. But with the way that my mom is and the way that my sister Taylor is, they really push for um, acceptance. They were the first ones to really fully accept, understand, to take the time to understand. That's the better word for it. They were patient with it. Um, my sisters and my parents all identify as cisgender, all identify as heterosexual. Um, and with that, I think it's also made us more aware of our bodies and what could else be out there, um, in a way that it's easy to talk about it. I'm very supportive of my sisters coming to me and talking about whatever's going on with them sexually, if they're curious about anything, if they don't feel comfortable going to my mom. But again, she's always pushed for a very safe space, and I always felt it was very easy to go to her with things. In terms of romance in a life cycle stage, you think of falling in love, getting married, having kids, but what I've learned over time is that romance is actually a huge part that shouldn't be overlooked. It's that extra romance piece in a marriage. It's that love. It's the compatibility. It's gonna sound so cheesy, but the spark. Like what makes you want to choose that person every day. I mean, it's not blood. If you think about romance, you're choosing your partner that distinguishes you for all of your best qualities and even your worst ones and still chooses you at the end of the day. And that's kind of something that I've learned from watching my parents is at the end of the day, they choose each other always. And it's refreshing to have two parents still under the same roof and being privileged to be one of the lucky ones to grow up in a two-parent household that was loving and caring and supportive. And I know a lot of people don't get that. um, Religion and faith, a really tricky concept, honestly. um, we all don't um, truly identify with anything. My mom's an Episcopalian, and but is not practicing, but has her faith. I would say more than anything that um, nobody practices religion, but maybe we each practice faith in a different way. And even like it could be seen like faith in each other, because I know that my dad, if I really think about it, if if you think about who you put your faith into, he puts it into my mom to be that support for him, to lead him and to guide him and to encourage him to do right, which is a lot on her shoulders, but I think that's who he chooses to lead him. And then my mom, she does believe in something else. She believes in a place that um, allows that allows that I'm losing it that allows that place of comfort outside of yourself and others. She can find peace knowing that there's somebody else out there. Um, for Taylor, I'm honestly unsure if she fully is connected to anything or anyone. I think she'd probably fall more with me in the agnostic realm, where we both would like to think that there is something out there, just unsure of what. I think, again, if we think about faith and who leads us, I think we put that more in ourselves. And same for Megan. If Megan, like, who leads you and who guides you, I think she would choose herself too. But I know that Megan is more connected to astrology as well and confidently follows um, the virtues that coincide with her sign and the moon and the sun. And I know she takes that into great consideration. Um, for life cycle concepts with career and education development, um, essentially, I think it's the most important thing that you can consider to try to further your education. I think it more or less just shows more signs of, unfortunately, socioeconomic wealth and the ability to be accepted by more people. Usually, if you're college educated, you're not looked down upon as much, and I think it's a huge life cycle concept that education has always been drilled in for men, especially to grow and choose that status for yourself. So now that it's an opportunity for women, and well, not now, but that it is an opportunity for women to gain an education, I think that's really important in our household and as a life concept to aim for equality and to aim for greatness in any way that you can. And just as our own family defines it, education is something that can lead you towards that. And just receiving our bachelor's is what's really important. And you push it to another level when you aim for further development in oneself, with hence me gaining my master's degree eventually. It will set me apart from the others. And it's kind of what we've been taught is how can you be seen differently and how can you prove to others that you can be seen differently. And I think that goes hand in hand then with career development. But I don't think anything less than education should be frowned upon. I think trade schools are super essential in a requirement in our society, and military is also super important. You can gain much guidance with that and deciding not to go at all. Everything's a choice in the matter. It's just how you always want to be viewed, I think, as well. Um, Considering finances and socioeconomic classes in the family life cycle concepts, your socioeconomic status really has a main piece in, um, sorry, I'm getting a weird phone call. Um, you really has a main piece in how your family will grow based on your class, where you end up, and how you plan to further develop your idea and concept of a home. We grew up middle class, not living too far outside our means, but also not living without. We were able to take family vacations once a year, and we were able to have nice things, but also understanding that no will be an answer. No is usually the possibility, but they would always try. And I think when you think of a life cycle concept is that you're grained in thinking that you need money to grow as a family, and you need it as soon as possible to have everything that you think a family needs. But family can go outside those um, constructs, and you don't have to get married to your spouse and already have your kids' college education fund ready to go. I think that's kind of like what's important about it is that knowing that money isn't everything to a family, to the life cycle, but it does help. In terms of finances, if you think about life cycle, if you're growing up and you're relying on your parents' finances, you're relying on your caregiver's finances, you grow as an individual and you're supposed to get your own finances, and then you're supposed to marry and combine your finances, and then you have finances to support your kids, and then you have finances to support yourselves again. And I think that finances really take up a large portion of that quality time of a family sometimes, with the constant working and constant putting work first sometimes in some households, and how that can disrupt the system and ruin attachment. So I think through my own life cycle and as I'm continuing to grow is finding that happy balance between work and quality time with the ones I love. And then just an all around my thoughts on children and all the stages that will be to come. I have no children of my own right now. I have cats. I'm only ready for cats right now. I babysit these two amazing boys here and there, but they're a good reminder of why I'm not ready for kids. And will I have kids one day? Yeah, absolutely. Just not now. Not at 24. Ask me again when I'm 26 and I might have a different answer, but For now, it's just not in the cards for me, and it is my body, my choice. And if that ever happened currently in my life, then I would consider getting an abortion. But my current partner is very important to me, and his opinion is really important to me. And it's obviously going to have to be a conversation that would have to be held at a later date and time if that ever happened. But I also think that he would support me and what I thought would be right for us in that moment. So that's just also me hoping. And in terms of having that family and doing all that, it's yet to come, but just from watching it happen in my own household and watching all of us kids leave the house to go to school and watching my parents' relationship flourish again, it's quite incredible to see how kids really have an impact on that marriage subsystem, how parents have to decide how they're going to co-parent, if they're going to be the authoritative, if they're going to take on that role of who's going to be the main disciplinarian in the household and who's going to be the one that you turn to for those punishments, and then also who's going to be the parent you want to go to for advice. I feel like it's an unspoken thing that kind of just starts to take shape, but through all the life cycle stages with children, I feel like you never even know the answers and you're just going to have to figure it out as it goes. Um, and just reflecting overall on this project and kind of what I've thought about for a while in terms of family is just how um, life cycles change and it affects us all very differently, and how family can still be portrayed through the good times and the hard times, and just considering how um, I think that family is ever changing and the definition is changing, and we're moving from a masculine patriarchal approach to a more equality feministic lens that really gains us insight and knowledge into how every household is different. Um, Single parent households, queer households, um, heterosexual households, um, extended family households, how every household is ultimately different, but can all be impacted by similar things. It's a really crazy concept to think about that everyone can go through these life cycle stages, but they all end up differently. Um, and I guess that's just my final thoughts on it. All right.